You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author, professional speaker, and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by yours truly, Dominic Dom Brightman's wonderful book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Grab it on ebook, audiobook, or paperback book and share this gift to your friends, family, heck, even no matter what season it is, for that wonderful person in your life that needs to advance their next level in their career or just needs a quick pick-me-up to get through their day and beyond to thrival level. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. And thanks to probably my supplier, my man who be, sliding me the random virtual business cards, Mr. Eminem and sub, Mr. Mickey Mickelson, hooked me up with another super special awesome human today, folks. Because my goodness, we got one heck of a super special awesome human for you today, folks. Because not only is he a fellow author, he's also a fellow media personality, folks. So it's gonna be a host special, bookcaster versus bookcaster, baby. Because my goodness, today's guest, storyteller, podcaster, who's obsessed with music, books, running, and coffee, and not necessarily all in that order. And he hails from the mighty H-Town himself. Let's give it up for the man who's on a cruise while watching a horror movie, the one and only Freddy Cruz. How you doing today, Freddy?
I just want to isolate that intro and use it every time I walk into any building from here on out. I love that. Thank you for that intro. I'm not worthy. I'm not. Do it again. That was amazing. Wow.
That's right.
Thank you for the invite, my man. It's really cool.
That's right. Cool to the three cucumbers, because my goodness, my man has been doing all the good work. My man's got 2 books to his name. My man's a seasoned professional in the broadcasting industry, and my man's got his own show coming up in 2022 Q1. My man's going to be dropping that heat, probably at a higher temperature, I hear.
Possibly. Well, we're in Texas. Anything goes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Everything goes indeed. That's right. North, south, east, and west. That's right. Although, probably Texas might be as far south you want to go, I imagine. Unless maybe Brazil, but who knows.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind Brazil. Depends on the time of year, I guess. And where.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely say that again, especially with all this warming of the globe going on. But speaking of warming of the globe, I probably only covered maybe 5% of what the fabulous Freddy does. So am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you, Freddy?
No, you got it. You've covered it. Covered everything in the intro, man. I have been on Houston radio. Lucky, fortunate, blessed to have been on the radio for the past 16 years here in the 4th largest city in these United States. Also happens to be my hometown. Prior to my 16-year run at the legendary 2-time Marconi Award-winning radio station KRBE, I did work at 101.3 KDWB in Minneapolis, and then prior to that, a 5-year run at KRBE as well. So all of my top 40 experience has been condensed to just 2 radio stations. I've had the chance to work with some industry giants, and not a day goes by that I'm not thankful that I've been so lucky and so fortunate to be able to work with so many giants in the radio business.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The real giants, not New York at all, right?
No, not at all. The actual giants.
Apologies to the New York Giants fans listening. I just had to get that stupid corny joke out the way since he said Giants. Oh, man, but that's what I'm talking about. So, my goodness. So, did my man come out the womb with a microphone in his hand looking to get into the broadcasting industry? Like, how did it go for, like, the 11-year-old Freddy, man? Like, was it something you always wanted to do?
You know, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, but my childhood sports hero, any kid who grows up watching sports has at least one or two heroes. My hero is Bo Jackson, and I was convinced from ever since I saw the Monday Night Football game, the Raiders versus the Seahawks, and it was that 91 yard touchdown where he ran into the freaking locker room. I was convinced that I was going to be just like Bo. I wanted to be just like him, and he hit home runs when he wasn't playing football and running these epic touchdowns, right? So I thought for many years that I was going to be just like him, and then all my friends in school started passing me up, and then I was like, not exactly the fastest person, not exactly the strongest athlete, didn't exactly hit home runs. I didn't score touchdowns. I sat the bench a lot. So then I figured, well, you know what? I should probably think about what I want to do that doesn't involve sports. And then now, Dom, I don't know if you played sports in school, but here in Texas, football is king, right? So we got the talk from our football coaches. The talk is basically not very many of you are going to become athletes. You've got and I forget what the stat is. It's something like 1 in 100,000 football players will go on and play at the collegiate level, much less the professional sports level. And so the purpose of the talk was to not diminish your dreams. It's great to dream, but it's to reinforce the importance of doing well in school. And so it really made me wonder, well, what is out there for someone who is not a very athletic person that can still be in the same world of professional sports. And so I always thought, well, you know what? I want to be like Bob Allen, who the late Bob Allen, who in Houston was the sportscaster for Channel 13, KTRK for all these years. And so I figured, wow, you know what? I want to do what he does. And so how do you do what he does? Well, you go to school for broadcasting, and you get a degree, and you do all these things. And well, how do you get on TV? Well, you got to get into radio first. That's a stepping stone for TV. So I worked a free internship at a radio station. And long story short, some of the best advice that I've ever gotten was, well, what are you majoring in? Radio TV. Where do you go to school? Sam Houston State. Okay. Why are you majoring in radio TV if you're working at a radio station already? Well, it's a free internship. Yeah, but do you have a job? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, cool. Stop wasting your parents' money. Not telling you to quit school. Change your major, move back, and then work in radio as you're going to school. And then that's how you develop a career, basically. And so that's exactly what I did. I changed majors. I eventually graduated from University of Houston while working, and doing overnight shows, evening shows, worked at a couple of different radio stations, and finally graduated during my first stint at KRBE. And so that's the long-winded, how did Freddy end up in broadcasting story. It's fun to tell because it's just crazy how nobody can predict the future. And dude, I'm on something called a podcast. I mean, who would have thunk it? I wanted to be on TV talking about the Houston Oilers. Little did I know the Oilers would be the Tennessee Titans, and we'd have the Houston Texans, but I'd be talking on something called a podcast on an Apple Macintosh computer on something called Zoom with somebody miles and miles and miles away. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, you could definitely say that again, dude. It's like the Jetsons in real life almost.
Yeah, I mean, really. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. Well, congrats on actually getting that wonderful advice and following it, because sometimes it really is true. It's like, hey, you know what? Like, hey, some folks just want to jump out of school entirely, but hey, you follow the man's advice. Like, hey, like, just stay in school, but hey, change your major and really make that your career while you're doing it. And my man's probably been charging hard ever since you've been with that radio station, I guess, 2 different times, right?
Yeah, yeah. 5 years the first time, and then 3 years in Minneapolis, and then 16 this current stint that is about to expire here at the end of 2021.
So Sweet 16. They're like, we can't let this man become legal. No 18 for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. But man, oh man. So my goodness, even though not being able to fulfill the dream of becoming an all-star athlete, still becoming an all-star media personality, like where did the love for writing come from then, since you really became a media personality with all this wonderful years of radio experience?
Well, I would have to say that I've always I've always been a somewhat of a storyteller. When you think about the things you do on the radio when you're sharing someone's story, a song is someone's story. So if you're playing music on a radio station, you're sharing dozens of stories throughout the course of a music intense show, right? But it goes deeper than that. What kind of things are you talking about during a show like a midday show? I'm talking about the kid. Just last week I was talking about this amazing little boy who not only saved his classmate who was choking with the Heimlich maneuver, but then after school he went and saved a disabled lady from her burning house. And so finding stories like these and sharing them with your audience, I think is just, it's an incredible way to make a living. And so I felt like, well, if I can share stories, certainly I can create stories. And so I think that's where maybe there was something subliminally going on in my head that eventually kind of pushed me toward wanting to do it. And then my children challenging me to write a book really was like the final kick in the rear. Like, all right, they're like, Dad, you should write a book. Okay, I should write a book. Well, it's, as you know, it's no small feat. It takes a lot of work, working early in the morning, late at night, on the weekends, on the holidays. Your friends are out and about. Your family is running errands. You're doing this. You're by yourself the entire time and not really knowing what it is that you're putting together. And so, yeah, that's kind of the genesis of where that all comes from.
A mighty good Genesis indeed, man. My goodness, indeed. Yeah, so right about like book writing, and you got 2 of them out there, man. And I believe your most recent one was They Cancel the DJ, right?
Yes, sir. They canceled the DJ, which is inspired by actual events, where some of the people shall remain nameless, except for the inspiration behind the inciting event, which is loosely based on something that happened to my buddy Tyler, who totally knows that what happened to him backstage at a music festival pre-COVID. He knows that this particular incident inspired some of the things that happened in the book, which is pretty hilarious.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because it's red, indeed. Definitely a shiny book that folks should pick up. So, my goodness, you mentioned like all the holidays and all the weekends and the early mornings, sometimes late nights putting a wonderful book together. So, what was your process like? So, if I'm not mistaken, you usually try to go for what, 200 to 300 words a day, right?
Well, yeah. So part of my other day job, well, my soon to be no longer day job, but what I've been doing for the past 16, 20 years is, is writing promo copy. So 10 to 30-second promo copy. So I write for that part of my job, and then I write my show prep. And that usually amounts to anywhere between 500, maybe 700 words a day. So when I'm not writing for a manuscript, I am still getting the words in, because if you're going to be a writer, what you have to do is exercise that writer muscle, that creative muscle. Because if you don't exercise that muscle, it atrophies. Just like with when you're trying to get stronger, when you're trying to lift weights, or when you're running. And you think about taking a month off from running when you've been running 4 times a week and you run 3 miles every morning, and you take a month off, dude, that first 3 mile run is going to be painful. So you don't want to take too much time off of the craft of writing and just getting the words out, getting something onto paper or into that keyboard, so that blank white screen isn't looking at you, teasing you and telling you that, dude, you didn't bring it today. You didn't bring it.
Yeah, man. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You're definitely right, because that can be a little bit intimidating, especially if it's from I guess, from a fictional standpoint. Because even though the wonderful book is loosely based off events, it still had to basically read as a novel. So, what was that piece like, since you're basically writing copy and all the wonderful scripts for years for your day job?
Well, it is somewhat of I guess you could call it letting the kid into the candy store with a credit card. I get
Oh,
free reign. I get free reign. I get to do whatever I want. And not to say that I didn't have creative freedom with, prepping my show and writing the kinds of promos that I want. But I mean, we're talking like total creative reign of the house. I can write literally whatever I want, because I'm creating these imaginary friends and making their lives miserable and putting them through all these different challenges, and then making sure they come out at the end of the story either changed or redeemed, or, in certain characters' cases, you're like, wait a minute, they did what to who? Oh, I hate them. So, but no, it's a getting to write fiction when you're used to writing uh, short copy, promo copy. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's a different way. It's if I had to compare it, I guess it's kind of like doing preacher curls versus bench presses. You're exercising a different muscle. You're still getting that upper body strength training, but it's a different muscle set. It's a different group.
oh yeah, definitely could say that again, because that's so powerful right there. And I love that analogy too. Just heck, with the workout piece of that with the bench press, because it's actually true. It's like you're still working out your riding muscles, but just a different function, a different part of that muscle indeed. Because like the fiction and the nonfiction, two different things, like copy and a complete set of stories in a novel, totally different thing. But hey, still writing nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with writing promo copy is that, you're working with hard deadlines, and you are also working with parameters. So you're working with, let's say you're working with a $25,000 national contest, and you've got to get certain copy that has to be in. Okay, cool. Well, if your copy can be no longer than 10 lines, Arial 14 point font, and this mandatory line is 2 lines. So you've got now 7 to 8 lines to play with. And let me tell you, it might feel like you are kind of being held back, but there's also something kind of liberating. And it really challenges you to be even more creative in the words that you use. It's the word economy, and finding different ways to say things. And I feel almost as if my 30-second promo copywriting helps me to keep my stories short and to the point, whereas it's not so much into that what they call purple prose, and is taking a whole page to describe a pen. You know what I mean? And it's no dig on anybody who does that, because there are people who enjoy reading about reading that kind of prose, but they're not going to get that from me.
Hey, I appreciate it indeed, because it's like, man, a whole page for one pen. I'm like, bro, just say the dude had a pen, it had blue wing. Next sentence,
Yeah.
maybe
Well, I
not
mean,
that
I guess
far.
if yeah, and I guess if it's relevant to the plot, if it's a pen that was handed down from 5 generations of whatever, and great 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 grandfather used it to write his first novel, and now you've got a novelist in near future America who it's the only pen that exists, and yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's like the only time you do that is like, oh, this is the same pen that Bo Jack used to sign the helmet when he made that 91 touchdown run. Now that'll be a
yes,
real one.
thank you, yes, exactly. I mean, was that not an epic run though? Jeez, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
One of my
indeed.
favorite touchdowns ever. And this is really going to date me. I might as well just say it right now. I'm 46. Back in my day, we had this game called VCR quarterback. You kids and your PS5s, dang it, we had VCR quarterback. Daddy, what's a VCR? No, so one of the plays, and I was too young. Now, in my defense, I was too young to actually have enjoyed the game that was that this play was featured on the game, right? So the game was, I guess, late 70s, early 80s, Houston Oilers versus the Rams, and I think they were maybe they were the St. Louis Rams back then. But that yellow, bright blue color, the cool helmets, right? But man, Earl Campbell, if you haven't seen it, your homework, I'm giving you homework. You got to look up Earl Campbell run, jersey gets torn off. I mean, this dude just plowed through so many defenders and they're ripping his jersey off and he's still running. And it's like, dude, yeah. one of the most epic runs ever. I don't even think he ran for a touchdown. I just think it was just a first down run, but it was just something to see.
Oh yeah, definitely say that again. Indeed, kind of shows that the same tenacity we gotta have for life and really chasing after what you want. Cause my goodness, man, like that inspiration and basically getting a whole broadcasting career and then following your kids' orders. I mean, inspiration to write books.
You do what the kids tell you some of the time, not all the time.
That's true, because they still the kids. Like, you're the adult here.
Yeah.
We will not listen to Baby Shark for the 43rd time today. I'm the
Oh,
adult.
God. Yeah. Let me tell you, man. I'm quite glad that my kids are teenagers. I don't have to live through Baby Shark or Paw Patrol. And they were they're not so old. So I mean, it was like we barely missed the Barney phase. So yeah, there was no Barney. We did do Teletubbies, and they are kind of creepy. Just throwing that
I
out there.
remember the Telly Buddy. I remember the Teletubbies with the
Yeah,
smiling
dude.
face. Remember the bellies with the.
Demonic. Yeah, tiddly winkies. Like, go away.
Oh man. Well, speaking of with the tubs and the tellies, since it's far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
A question that I should be at, like, what's a question that I wish I'd be asked? Oh, wow. That's great. What would I ask myself? Man, I don't know. Who from the past would I like to interview?
Oh, you know what? That's a good. Oh, so who would you like to interview from the past and why?
I would like to interview George Washington.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll just say it. And if not George Washington, I'll say it. I'd like to interview Jesus. And
Oh yeah.
if not George or Jesus, Marcus Aurelius. Or if not one of those three, I would like, because think about this. You think about, okay, so one of my favorite quotes is from Naval Ravikant. And he's on Twitter at Naval. So basically like naval, like Navy, but his name is Naval. One of the smartest dudes I've ever listened to. And there's a quote from his in a Tim Ferriss book where the quote is, it's the title of the quote is Monkeys on a Spinning Rock. And so he basically talks about how all we are just a bunch of primates on a spinning rock in an infinite universe, which may be part of an infinite multiverse. And when you think about how many hundreds of thousands of years the world has been around, you think about just how our lives are nothing more than just like a flash in the pan. And you think about people, and you go back thousands of years. How many Sumerians do you know? How many Aztecs do you know? Which Incan emperor do you hold in deep regard? And so the point of it is basically your life will fade, your children will fade, all the things you do will fade, everything will fade. So you've got one life, and you've got like just however many years you're alive on this planet. So why spend it in any other state other than being happy? So you owe it to yourself to be happy, because what are the odds that you will ever even be one of these people on this spinning rock? And so that's kind of like the butchered paraphrased version of it. So to answer your question, another person I would love to interview would be like an Incan emperor or an Aztec emperor, because I don't even know any of these. Do they even have names? This is before historical record, right? So yeah, I mean, how cool would that be? And did they speak Spanish? I mean, no, they probably didn't. So, but I mean, yeah. So I think it'd be kind of cool. Or if I could learn Egyptian, interview King Tut. I mean, I would just it's yeah. Or who was the Brad Pitt of antiquity? You know, for all the talk of Aristotle and all these other people, well, who were the actual, like Aristotle would have to be, if you can compare. Okay, Dom, if you can compare Aristotle to someone right now, who would it be? Probably Neil deGrasse Tyson, or maybe an Elon Musk. I don't know.
That's a darn good question, because Aristotle, wise dude. Like, I, too bad they're both dead, but I was gonna go along the lines of maybe Jim Rohn.
Okay,
Even
Jim
though,
Rome. Okay.
yeah, because he was actually Tony Robbins' mentor. He actually passed away in 2009. So,
Hmm.
like, all the philosophy, like the bright head on the
Yeah.
shoulders, like, yeah, that was like the first name that popped in my head. So yeah, like, my goodness, like, it'll probably be. So I guess with your new show, it'll probably be the Freddy Philosophy Hour, maybe.
Oh no. Oh, I like talking about this kind of stuff. I think it's fascinating to me to just think about things, and how what's the other thing I learned? It's cosmic insignificance. You think about just how little things matter. And it kind of goes to Naval's point of, how many Sumerians do you know? How many how many ancient Roman philosophers do you really know? I mean, there are a handful of the Stoics that whose works that we read, but only because a handful of people bother to even look them up. But no, it's anybody who will even entertain that kind of conversation is cool by me, dude.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because that'd be one heck of a show. It's like, yeah, that's right. Interviewing the folks of the past, seeing where their heads were, or where they probably weren't at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's interesting, and when you think about it, I mean we've got the same. What is it? We've got the same. The human brain is basically the same for however many thousands of years, and what the technology has obviously changed drastically just within the past couple of hundred years. So I wonder, what is it? Is it the age of enlightenment that really set us on that trajectory, which enabled humankind to evolve, to achieve all these things? and the error of humanity's ways would definitely be, if I had to guess, would be conquest and famine and war and plunder. I mean, the Cold War probably could have been fought by, the colonials and the British Empire. If there was just a little more human liberty earlier in the game, who knows? I'm just
Oh yeah.
thinking out loud.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with them streams of consciousness right there, or as you call it, talking about the cosmic indifference or the cosmic insignificance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there you go. Cosmic insignificance. I forget the name of the author, something Berkman. But that was another guy. Tim Ferriss played played that chapter from his audio book, and it was just fascinating to hear him talk about that. I actually listened to it twice. I'm gonna have to buy the audio book, but I mean it's rather interesting. Interesting take on life and modernity.
That's right, modernity. That's right. Where we can actually have GMO bananas that can last for 2 years. That's right.
And French fries that never go bad, depending on where you get them from.
Well, that would be freaking amazing. Throw in the microwave and they actually taste as good as when you first got them. Okay, that'll be a miracle.
Yeah, really, dude.
Oh man. Well, speaking of food, if your particular book they cast the DJ was a food item, what would it be and why?
If it was a food item, what would it be? I would have to say, a delicious Kobe beef burger. And I would have to say, because it would have to be loaded with all the fixings. It'd have to have cheese and lettuce and tomatoes and pickles and all the good stuff. And I say that because it's a little bit of everything. So beef is, depending on who you talk to, not exactly the best thing to have, but you add lettuce and tomatoes, it's good for you. And you add some bread, it's got carbs, good carbs. Mustard, well, it's, depending on the mustard, a little vinegar is not bad for you. Same with ketchup. So it's junk food, but it's also health food. So there's it's a dark comedy. It's a satire on rabid fandoms. It's a play on the buffoonery of corporate media, and it's a good time all around. And there's some things that will hopefully make you think. Some of the underlying themes are that of revenge and becoming what you loathe. So when I say that there are some things that are good for you, if you explore some of those themes, hopefully that's something that you might take away.
Yeah, that's right. Junk and health at the same time. That jelth food, y'all. That's right.
Gels. Love it.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. It's Kobe beef, baby. That's right. That's right. This ain't Tupac and Biggie beef. This is that Kobe beef, baby. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right. That grade A plus, y'all. The grade A plus, y'all. That's right. That's right indeed. And not left. Oh man. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in the current year now with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Ooh, wee. All right. So I wake up tomorrow and I'm 25. I would have to say, make smart moves with money. Be very cognizant of who you listen to. Get your money advice from. Don't run up credit cards. It ain't worth it. And invest. And most importantly, when you invest in this. For anybody who's not watching or can't see, I'm pointing to my head. invest in your mind and learn, learn, learn. Just because you are finished with high school, just because you're finished with college, just because you're finished with trade school does not mean you stop learning. If you want to grow as a human being, you have to embrace that mentality of always the student and never, ever, ever the master, because life is one big game in the wild freaking West. And if you don't want it, and if you don't play that game, someone's going to play it for you, and you're going to end up being a chess piece on somebody else's board, when the entire time, had you just embraced that mentality of always the student and never the master, if you would have just embraced it, you'd be running your own chessboard. You be your own king, your own queen. You will be running your kingdom or queendom.
Yeah, that's right. One of those mic drop moments, baby. That's right indeed.
I'm good every once in a blue moon, dude.
Well, don't worry. These blue moons come a lot often, if you catch my drift. The man's been dropping the heat, baby. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right. Don't just be a pawn on the board or a piece. Be the freaking board, y'all. That's right. Be the wood. That's right. Be the wood. Man or woman, be the wood. That's right.
There you go.
That's right indeed. That's right. And if you wish somebody would, well, don't do it. Don't do it. Just wish upon a star instead. So for those who need to wish upon all the stars and catch up with all the wonderful stuff my man Freddy is doing in the wonderful planet on this wonderful blue water rock of Earth, what's the best way for folks to do so?
TheFreddyCruz.com. That is Freddy with a Y, C-R-U-Z. So TheFreddyCruz.com. Follow me on Instagram at TheFreddyCruz and on Twitter at Radio Freddy Cruz.
Ooh. Well, there you have it, folks. The fierce champion, Freddy Cruz, baby. Follow him on the IGs. Slide into his DMs, y'all. Be like, yeah, just copy your book, man. Take a selfie with it with some headphones and be like, they ain't cancel me, baby. That's right. That's right indeed. Jockey all the discs, y'all. That's right. Heck, be a horse jockey too, y'all. You know, better bets.
I like you, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. So for those who are still here before we close up shop, what's the best way, folks, to... Oh, man. Any parting words before we close up shop, man?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and great questions. You stumped me. This is the first interview where I've been stumped. Dag nabbit.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to this podcast. To take it to the next level, be sure to share it with someone that you care about and that would get something out of this podcast too. Advance others to advance yourself.